morning guys, and welcome back to my Facebook live stream. And if you're new here, my name is Jimmy Cheng. I'm a professional photographer, filmmaker and an Olympus ambassador, of course. So if you're new to here, yes, this stream is all about photography and filmmaking, and yeah, in particular Micro Four Thirds. But yes, because I'm a professional, I'm so used to all kinds of different gear. So if you have any questions about photography, filmmaking and things like that, please feel free to ask me. So today, as you can see from my post title, I do have something special to show you, which is only a preview, is a first look at these two little lenses that I'm going to show you. The review, you will just have to stay tuned for my YouTube release. Hopefully it will be in the next couple of weeks or so, because it does take time for me to film and then edit and stuff like that. But yeah, in the next couple of days though, however, I intend to demonstrate how to use these lenses as well. But if you guys are not familiar with manual lenses on Micro Four Thirds system, you can stay tuned for tomorrow. Hopefully the weather will be as good as today, and I'll be able to do a live demonstration on how to manual focus from your OMD cameras. And the reason I chose this opening sequence is because as a filmmaker, a lot of the time that we use manual focus while filming. Of course, you know, when we like filming ourselves, just as a one-man band, like what I'm doing at the moment, doing streamings, or like sometime when I do film just on my own, I will have to utilize autofocus and face detections and things like that. So this is very common if you want to do that sort of thing. But when I'm actually operating the camera, and that's when I use manual focus, because I can take full control of all the manuals, pull focus and things like that. So it's always a little bit better that way. So morning, Brad, and welcome back. So here it is. The two lenses I want to show you guys today are the Pergear lens. I'm not sure if you actually seen my very first review of the Pergear 25mm 1.8, probably about 3-4 months ago now, just before the lockdown. If you don't know, go to my YouTube channel, you'll see my review video of the Pergear 25mm 1.8. I was actually pretty impressed with the optical quality, just because of the price. You know, like bang for buck, you can't really complain about like a $60 lens. Yeah, I'm not joking. It was that cheap. Yeah, and I still very surprised and don't understand how they can manufacture a lens this cheap. And it's brand new, not second hand. Yeah, not one of these old, cheapo, horrible Russian lenses you can get on eBay. Because I had quite a few of those when I was studying photography, because you know, I couldn't afford anything when I was first started. So getting some Russian lenses were the way to go, because they were that cheap. But these things are as cheap as those second-hand Russian lenses that are probably about 50 years old. And these are brand new and come about the same price as the old Russian lenses. So here is one of them. Let's see. This is the 35mm 1.6. I think it's 1.6. Let me have a look. It is 1.6. And also have another one here, which is a 50mm 1.8. So they are tiny and fully metal construction. So yes, Pergear, can you let me know the secret? How can you manufacture a lens with full metal build, like proper glass elements, and fully functional lens, like metal mount as well? You know, it is cheap. You know, I so far, I mean, of course, you know, if you know the Chinese manufacturers, they do have a couple of manufacturers that are equally cheap, such as the Maker and also the 7 Artisan. But 7 Artisan, I think, among the three brands that I just mentioned, and Artisan is the slightly higher, more expensive brand compared to the other two. So Pergear and Maker are very, very similar in terms of price range. But you know, of course, I've got access to Pergear, so I'm reviewing the Pergear stuff. Like I mentioned in my review for the 25mm 1.8 just before the lockdown with Sally, and then I was shooting her as my model, and you can see that the images that came out of it is actually not too bad. I wouldn't say that it's as good as the official Olympus 25 1.8, or in fact, you know, any other the Micro Four Thirds from the major manufacturers, for that matter. So you can't really compare in terms of optical quality, but really, once again, for that price, yeah, $60-70 for a fully functioned, fully metal-built manual lenses, you can't really go wrong with it. Even if you just want to dabble the ideas of having a prime lens, or you just want to do some filmmaking, because if you don't mind using manual focus, but on a budget, you know, the Pergear stuff is actually pretty good. So they sent me 2 more lenses to have a look, and then so I had the 25 already, so this is the 35 once again, this is the 50mm. And the reason I want to show you this is because, of course, not only that I'm doing a review, but I'll also show you how it looks on a OMD, well, OMD or slimmer body like the Pen F. Yeah, once again, my lovely, beloved, yeah, cool looking Pen F sexy camera here. Good morning, Trevor, and good afternoon, Burana. So this, at the moment, I have the 30mm 3.5 macros. So as you know that this lens is pretty small, so it looks very nice on the Pen F, right? The proportional wise, it's very nice. It's very well balanced and things. So I'm just going to throw on the Pergear lenses so you can see how it looks. Okay, so don't forget it. I'm not doing a review just yet. You have to stay tuned for my YouTube review. So this is it. One thing I don't like about the Pergear stuff is that, you know, normally on an Olympus or Micro Four Thirds lens, there is a red dot. I don't know if you can see this. Let me just see if you can see it. Focus, focus, focus. Yeah, you can see the red dot there. So you can tell exactly where you can mount the lens, basically. So the camera now, can you see that red dot there? So you can actually kind of match to that red dot, so you can easily just slot in and turn. This, however, or in any of the Pergear lenses, the red dot is nowhere near on the barrel, nothing. You have to turn, then you see the red dot there. So like every time when you mount the lens, and you just have to kind of like turn the lens towards you, and you can see the red dot, and you can have to match it. And so it's just a little bit more fiddly to do, but not impossible. So let's do that. So okay, this is the 35mm 1.6. So you can see that very slim, very nice actually. It looks kind of cool on the Pen F, right? And then also, they also come, you know, despite the cheap price, it also comes with a metal hood, yeah. It's not a bayonet mount one, so it's actually a screw-on one, so you can just screw on to the thing. And look, it brings me back of the good old days of the Leica stuff, and it's pretty good, right? Look at that. Does it look good? I think it's actually pretty good, and yeah, I mean, obviously, like I mentioned, I'm still doing the reviews. I'm testing the lenses as we speak, and it's actually pretty nice. These focusing action is relatively smooth, and compared to the 25, I think the 25 is slightly smoother, but obviously that could be whether you're lucky or not in terms of batching. You know, sometimes you may have a good batch, sometimes you may have a bad batch. So sometimes you just really don't know about this, especially for this price. I'm not entirely sure how the quality control is in China, and but so far, in terms of actual build quality, you know, is pretty good. And also the markings on the lens, yeah, they are not etched in, yeah. So this is something that you have to be careful, because they do rub out if they're not etched in. That means that over time, the marking might actually disappear. You know, all these markings on the lens itself, they could simply disappear. So you just have to be sure that you don't rub it too hard when you're cleaning it. So I'm now mounting the 50mm 1.8. So there we go. Once again, it's still small, it's still very small, and the size is actually pretty good, and I'm pretty sure it's still very balanced. You can see that it's quite balanced here. There's no issue of balancing. So being a 50mm 1.8 means that it's 100mm on the Micro Four Thirds. So this is actually a pretty good portrait lens in that case. So I'm going to try out these lenses and let you know in my forthcoming reviews on how these things, you can see all the sample images. Although because I don't have any models to shoot with at the moment, so I'll have to use some models in my garden and see whether I can actually just put some plastic models and just shoot with it and see where I can see all the rendering, and also the bokehs and stuff like that. So hopefully it will be all fun and informative as usual. How you guys like my new style of videos? You know, obviously that because Tracy's not around here to shoot with me, and then I have to do everything myself. It's always going to be a bit more challenging when you have to do everything right from the planning stage right to the finished product. It will take me a long time. And that also, on top of that, I have to deal with my kids at home full time, and it's never going to be easy. It's never going to be easy. So hopefully I will be able to conduct a lot of these reviews and over the next few weeks, because I do have a bunch of stuff that I need to review, and so I'm slowly getting the hang of it and coming back to my normal YouTube reviews and stuff like that. So it looks, so far, I think from judging from the response I have on YouTube, I have been doing a fairly good job So that's a very encouraging sign to see that people are liking my new style of a one-man band YouTube thing, kind of. So it's all right. It's okay. Not too bad. So how are you guys anyway? Did you guys have a good Father's Day? Something that I want to ask you guys actually. Nothing that I did too much over the weekend. We did actually go out for fruit picking. So something that we haven't done in a while, especially after the lockdown, and now we can actually go out and do things a little bit more. And so we drove out for cherry picking with the kids, and they seem to love it. Although we only stayed there for about a couple of hours, we didn't stay there for too long. But it was all good. It was all fun. All right, okay, Burana, you have something here. Been trying OM lenses. Oh yes, that's true. You can actually also get OM lenses. Of course, they are native. Well, not kind of native, but they are Olympus lenses. You can get the adapter to mount onto any OMD or Micro Four Third cameras that you wish. They're great stuff as well, you know. And yeah, you got the 51.8. This is very, very common OM lenses you can actually obtain for relatively cheap price. Probably about the same price as these guys here actually online, but don't forget that this is the brand new lens for the same price as a second-hand 40-year-old OM lens. I haven't actually tried the 135 3.5 though, Burana. I think that could be a cracking lens as well. I know the 28 is actually well regarded as one of the sharper lenses, so that could be something of a lens I should try in the future. I know there are a couple of other rare OM lenses, such as the 55 1.2 and also the 58mm 1.2 on the OM mount for the film cameras. And they're also known that they're not very, very sharp, but they have the really old, vintage, cool-looking renderings that if you guys are into vintage photography or that kind of look, you can actually achieve that sort of thing with just that lens. And having a 1.2 lens also means that you can shoot you know, in lower light situations as well. So, and something to think about. But I know that those 1.2 lenses are fairly cheap. Not very cheap, so the opposite, fairly expensive in today's world still. I think I've seen them, they're going for about 300 quid on eBay. So I mean, if you're into the 1.2 lenses, the old timer from the OM era, for the OM camera eras, and you can snap one up hopefully. And Trevor, what you say? They're missing the blooper with my co-host. You do miss the blooper. I still have my bloopers though. I still have my bloopers in my videos. This is me usually having a silly face or feeling annoyed or something, you know, after you know, just going a few runs, you know, of the same scripts, and I messed up myself and kind of thing. It's actually pretty cool. Oh, Brad, you took your new lens out for a spin. That is awesome. How did you feel it? How did you feel it? Impressed and very happy. Nice work, nice work. Yeah, it is. I think it's a really good combo here. The 40 to 150 with the MC14, and you know, because you can actually get pretty far. Yeah, 300mm equivalent is already quite a good distance, and you add a 1.4 here, and it's just cool, right? You know, it becomes 420, and that is a massive range. And being a 2.8 constant lens, you know, is also a bonus. You know, if you want to capture some actions, even a slightly lower light situation, even if you're throwing the 1.4 times converter, it's only down to 3.5 or f4, I can't remember now, and still fast enough for a lot of different lighting conditions, or using faster shutter speed to capture something. It's great. It's a great combo, and small, right? This combination, even if you add the MC14 to the lens, is still relatively small, which is fantastic. And okay, let's see what Burana is saying. 28 is sharp. The 50 got, oh man, oh yeah, you mentioned that, didn't you? And the 50mm got haze. And you know, in the UK, you can actually get the lens out for servicing, and then see if we can get rid of the haze. But obviously, if you show it to these people, they usually can tell you exactly whether they can help you repairing the haze or not. Haze is actually not that bad. Fungus is really bad. Fungus, because when you have really bad fungus growing inside your lens, and they will etch into the actual elements, and you can't really do anything about it. Depending on the severity of the actual deterioration of the fungus, if it's just in early stages, you can actually repair it fairly straightforward. I did it myself. You can actually use I can't remember what that I use. I think I used Vaseline. Yeah, I think I used Vaseline to clean up the actual fungus on the actual lens itself. And it worked. it worked to an extent that that it got rid of most of it. But obviously, when you use Vaseline, you have to clean it properly, and you can't leave any residual oily elements onto the surface as well. So you have to clean it really nicely using just mild soap. Just keep cleaning with a microfiber cloth and a lens cloth. And once you get rid of it, it should be kind of back to normal. But it's never going to be 100%. But at least the fungus won't regrow. But if you clean it properly, and also if you worry about it, or just simply want to stop the fungus growing, you can actually just simply use the lens or put the lens out in the open, when especially on a sunny day, because UV will kill it, and then so that will stop the growth in the fungus. But obviously you have to keep doing that every so often before you regrow again in sort of damp environment. So just be careful, you know, when you do that sort of thing. Oh, change to F4. Thank you for rectifying my thing. I remember it's 3.5 F4, but saying that F4 is actually still plenty fast in a long tail lens environments, and so that would be okay. Cool stuff, excellent stuff. And you know what? Yeah, today I have been rushing in and out because this morning I went out to do some shopping, and I don't know if you can actually see my line here. Right, you can see my line here. My line is actually from wearing a mask, because I actually went out to do some food shopping, so you know, face covering, all sorts, you know, and this is something we have to deal with these days. Kind of our new normal. That's what the government tells us, you know, the new normal that we have to do now. And so it was actually pretty okay, but I spent at least an hour and a half, an hour 45 minutes in the supermarket grabbing 2 weeks worth of food. It's never easy, yeah, and I have to rush back. After rushing back, I have to immediately try to set up this straight away and come back and do this live stream. And so I'm not actually 100% prepared, and so I do apologize for my kind of rushy feeling of it, just because I seriously, today it's been a nightmare since this morning, because I thought I would get through the shopping fairly quickly, and then in fact I actually spent more or longer than I needed to do that. Okay, Brianna has some comment about cleaning fungus. Being able to clean haze is between, yeah. If the elements are stuck together as a group, and yeah, in that case you really can't do anything about it. I had the same problem with my the PowerShot, the Canon PowerShot Pro 1. You know, the older. I mean, I love that camera, but then there's a group there. I can see the haze actually in between the layers, and I can't really separate it. So in that case, you kind of buggered, and then you just have to either live with it, or you just have to get another one. But I'm pretty sure, you know, the 50mm 1.8 are fairly cheap anyway, so you can actually pick one up, you know, a decent copy for quite good. So if you really want that particular lens, I don't think it's actually a deal breaking or wallet breaking purchase. So you could just go and grab another one, unless you go for the 1.4. 1.4 is about 90, 100 pound worth. You know, if you convert back to Thai, I think it's still a little bit dear for a manual lens, especially for a fairly common lens as well. But I think the 1.4 is actually pretty good, but something to consider if you want some. Maybe if you do want to replace the 1.8, go for the 1.4 and see what it feels like as well. Just use it as is. All right, cool stuff. So of course, I mentioned that to stay tuned for my actual review on these two lenses. I think it's going to be pretty awesome. Judging from the optical performance that I experienced with the 25mm, not 25. Yes, 25 1.8 with Sally 3 months ago. So I'm pretty sure these are actually as good as the 25 1.8, but just different focal length. And but being a relatively large aperture is actually pretty good, because this is 1.6, this is 1.8, so they are fairly big aperture lenses. That means you could potentially get some really nice separation bokeh, especially the 51.8. That means because it's kind of like edging into the 45 1.8 territory. You know, it's definitely a portrait lens in the micro four third. So I can't wait to show you. And if tomorrow is as good as today, I would be able to use my wireless setup and do a live demonstration, because I want to show you guys how to use a manual lens on an OMD camera, and show you all the settings so you know exactly what to choose, peaking, magnify, and how you can customize certain buttons to making sure that, you know, when you do operate manual lenses a lot quicker when it comes to photography. So that will be pretty awesome, and I would like to show you that. I'm hoping that this week is going to be really good weather, but as far as I know, this Wednesday, we're going to have a very, very hot weather. It's approaching 30 degrees, or if not over 30 degrees. Burana, I know that in your area it's going to be hot. You know, it's going to be hotter than us constantly anyway. But in the UK, anything over 30 that is like baking, basically. And don't forget that, you know, in the UK, we don't have air conditioning yet, and then so we are pretty much stuck with a fan or natural convection of air within the house, which is usually not very effective. And you will get sweaty, you will get the computer and everything will start to spin up with like fan full blast, because it constantly overheating, and that's something we have to endure. But luckily in the UK, that our hot weather don't usually last. You know, yeah, sometimes we may get 1 or 2 weeks of heat wave. That's as much as we can get. You know, we may have a couple of heat waves over the course of the summer, but usually we're gonna have just a few really hot days, and that would be it. So the rest of the year usually run about, or at least summertime is on average about 20 something. So it's fairly mild, fairly nice. And so I know that because I've been to Thailand, and then I know that it can be really humid and hot, and same as Hong Kong and Malaysia and all those places. And yeah, I don't think that I could endure for too long, even though I grew up in Hong Kong. Yeah, but I'm so accustomed or climatized myself in the UK now, and I don't think I can go back to, you know, over 30 plus that sort of temperature and continue to function normally. And I remember that, was it 10 years ago, I did a job in Hong Kong, and then it was a wedding. I took my camera out, I was shooting with it, and you know, 2 hours down, I couldn't stand, because I was sweating so much. My top was like really soaking wet, and it was just unbearable, you know. And my camera was actually okay, you know, but I wasn't okay. You know, my brain was starting to get distracted by my sweat. You know, it was just feeling too hot, and you know. But as soon as I got into the hotel and start aircon back on, and then yeah, I was able to function again. But anything doing outside in like blazing heat, you know, is something that I'm definitely not looking forward to, unless it's a specific project that I'm fully prepared for. And but it's hard work, you know. I don't even know how you guys can actually endure this sort of heat. And I know you can get used to it, but for me, I'm always, even when I was a kid in Hong Kong, I can't get used to that sort of like humidity, and also that sort of high heat and things like that. And I have to have some sort of aircon, or 20 something would kind of be my optimal temperature when I work. And in fact, I don't mind cold. So I can work in -10, -20, but I just can't do the opposite. And right, let's see the last one here. Yesterday I used the 4150 MC phone to shoot. Oh yeah, I saw some of your photos. Pretty impressive. Well, it's only happened in Asia. I don't think we got it here, so I kind of missed that. I would love to test out the same shot as well. You know, I may be able to do some filming with the solar eclipse. That would be pretty awesome, right? You know, maybe even time lapse. You know, that would be awesome. You guys should try some time lapses, and even like, you know, also do some because time lapse you can also capture the photo at the same time. So like you still have the photos, but you can kind of have a little bit of motion pictures going on there. You can see the actual eclipse happening in front of your eyes, and once you edit it, it will be pretty darn good. Right. Cool stuff. And it's going to be a relatively short stream today, and I know that it's not going to be fairly exciting, just because my brain isn't functioning properly. That's the first thing. And also after a long week, a long, very tiring weekend with the kids, and I'm simply exhausted. But I hope you guys had a Father's Day with your family. You know, if you're not a father yet, and then hopefully you had a good time with your father. And I have 2 kids, so I had a really good Father's Day yesterday. Just, you know, in fact, I actually went out to see my mum, so went out to travel a little bit and see people, different relatives for a bit. We haven't seen them for ages. Now we're able to travel out to see people. So like, you know, that's not too bad at all. And yeah, so I was happy. I was happy, but I was tiring, you know, after all this driving. And then especially Saturday went out for foot picking, like I mentioned. I got some pictures to show you later on, but it's not really photo, just snap on the iPhone, because I got another gadget that I received from Zhiyun. It's a gimbal company. As for the mobile gimbal, it's actually the Smooth X. You've probably seen it on YouTube already. It's actually pretty cool little gadget there, and you could use double up as a selfie stick, yeah, which because you can extend and still manage to stabilize the footage, and it's actually pretty interesting. And what I like about it is you got these gesture control as well, so that you can turn on the camera facing you or facing the other way, you know, and you can just wave at the camera or just just waving at the thing, and it just operate the camera using gestures. And that is pretty cool, pretty sweet. I like that. I like that sort of thing. I will see that to implement into Olympus as well. So instead of me going to the camera and press record button, you know, wouldn't it be good to have gesture? You know, just like the camera sees me as like start recording, or maybe even the voice activation. Yeah, you're seeing the camera, you can say, "Hey Olympus, shoot me," and that's the wrong terms. No, "Hey Olympus, record." Cool. Excellent stuff. Okay, Brianna, you had a good Father's Day. That's fantastic. Going back and check your MC20 video. You are you tempted now? Are you tempted to get MC20 as well? The MC20 is good, of course, you know, but don't forget that you're doubling up the focal length, which is fantastic. It's like 150 become 300. That means you get 600 millimeters reach in maximum, but also the 2.8 will become 5.6, so you are quite a bit slower compared to the f4, but then you've got obviously bigger reach. So the MC20 I would recommend to use it in brighter day, like today, you know, it was sunny, and rather than like overcast situation, depending on whether you need to capture the action, because you do need fairly fast shutter speed, and but it's still manageable depending on the lighting condition, of course. The MC14 definitely more versatile and tailor-made for the 40 to 150. MC20 is actually good, fantastic optical quality. It doesn't really slow down the lens that much as well. It just more to the 5.6 that I mentioned earlier, and but I also tried it, the MC20 on the 600 millimeters, sorry, not the 300 millimeters f4 lens. That becomes actually almost uncontrollable. And I'm not joking. Yeah, I was. You see my review on the MC20. I was using with the 300 millimeters f4 Pro. Once I slapped it on, yeah, that becomes so long. It's like, imagine 600 millimeters in micro four third is a 1,200 millimeters in the micro four third. So in full frame. I was trying to shoot a bird, yeah, but because the angle of view was so narrow, it's almost like a point in a space, and once you try and track the bird, yeah, and then if you're not fast enough or just like agile enough to move with the bird, you will lose them, and once you lose them, it's very difficult to reacquire your subject in the air. It's impossible. I think that for that particular case, you know, I think it's better off using the MC20 with the 300 millimeters Pro on a tripod or monopod or beanbag when you're shooting safari on the ground. And especially because like in the air, it's really tricky because the bird can fly any direction at any one time. It's very difficult to predict where they're going to fly, and so like it's very high tendency you're going to lose the subject. But having said that, it's actually fantastic optical quality. You know, like you can actually get that reach for that sort of money. It's just a bit unbelievable. Imagine that. But I can't wait to see, you know, once that Olympus Beast lens, the 150 to 400 Pro lens, the white beast, yeah, came out, because that lens has a built-in 1.25 converter, and then after that you can still slap on the MC20, yeah. So I don't know. I need some calculations here. Let me just calculate what sort of focal length you can actually achieve, and so 400 millimeters times 1.25 is 500 millimeters. So oh, that is just unbelievable. Then times 2 is 1,000 millimeters. So like on the full frame, it becomes 2,000 millimeters. Yeah, that could be a lens to look forward to. You know, next time if you do a solar eclipse or anything like that, yeah, 2,000 millimeters. Whew. Yes, I would go for that one. That's why I really want to try that lens myself, and if budget allows, obviously, you know, it's going to be a fairly expensive lens for sure, and I'm very tempted to actually get one. I know I'm not going to use it constantly, or it's going to be on a very rare occasion, but it's a lens that to die for, you know, for any sort of photographers who just occasionally dabble on this massive, unbelievable range, you know, you can capture, and that will be something to scream about. And then even if I go into maybe a potential a place to photograph with a little bit of wildlife, that lens on its own is going to be like well worth the carrying, you know. And I know it's going to be a little bit heavy, a little bit more pricey, but for that reach, you can't really compare to anything else on the market. And unless you want to pay like 40, 50 grand on a full frame lens for that particular equivalent to that kind of reach, otherwise, yeah, it's going to be difficult. But anyway, so I'm going to end my stream now because I want to go back to my work. I have a lot to go through. Oh, you might actually notice I'm wearing something different today. Yes, yeah, I got a new thing to review. Yes, I got a headphone to review. So I'm going to start reviewing things that is outside of the photography in my personal channel. So if you guys are interested in something that slightly different, has a bit of humor going on, and then do check out my personal channel in the coming weeks, because hopefully I will start producing other videos for my personal channel, and also be slightly outside of the photography. It's still going to be a little bit photography related, but more like to experiment things and then have a little bit of fun going on. So that would be my aim for my personal channel. So the Red 35 was still going to be my usual reviews and other photography 101 talk, photography live, you know, and all kind of things that to do with your camera stuff. My personal channel is going to be a little bit of fun, and also the archive, of course, the archive of all these Facebook live stream that you're seeing right now. You can go back and review it in higher quality, because like I mentioned last week, anything that I finish streaming in Facebook, the playback is very, very low quality. It's almost like 480, if not even worse, probably 360. So it's very low quality, very horrible resolution, so you can never see what I'm talking about. And but if you go back to my Facebook, the YouTube live archive, you can see everything in 2.7K. So it's actually pretty good, pretty darn good. And yeah, so anyway, I'm going to end my stream today. Tomorrow will be a brand new topic, back to photography, no more lenses. And oh yeah, there might be, like I mentioned, there might be a lens, depending on the weather. If it's good, I will do a live demonstration for menu focusing. So this is something that you may be interested. And if you want to learn a little bit about operating manual lenses on the Micro Four Thirds cameras, just then stay tuned. But obviously, like I mentioned, weather dependent. If it started raining, that will be change the topics and see what's going on. And it's going to be hard, right? Because I always have to pre-do the planning the day before, and then I have to announce what sort of thing I'm going to talk about. But if it started raining, it's going to be really, really tricky for me to do the live demo. That's the problem of doing live and also outdoor-ish thing. Okay, right, guys, and stay safe and have a good day today. And I know this is the Monday, so it's going to be a long week. Don't scare me, man. I've got tons of stuff to do. So, right, okay, you guys have fun, and I will see you guys all tomorrow again. And stay tuned for my Red 35 community page. I'm going to tell you about what I'm going to talk about this Wednesday in the next few hours. So stay tuned for that. Anyway, I will speak to you guys all tomorrow. See you later. Bye for now.